Hey guys, I think it's on. Yeah, it's on. Yeah. Hey guys, this is Vicky, also known as Pixelldump in the Simba community, and today I'm going to be making a video on how I make my Sims. And I'm making this video because over the last couple of weeks I got a couple of requests asking me how I make my Sims, and someone suggested that I make a video. So I'm just going to go through the basics of what I do to get my Sims to look the way they do. So let's get started. Right, first thing I do normally is change the skin. Some skins I find are good for eyes but not for nose and mouth, or some are good for the mouth but the eyes look weird, or I didn't find a skin with a good balance until I downloaded this Mix Asia, and it's my favorite skin to use because all aspects of it just work for me basically, and so I like to use the skin. And then the next thing I'm going to do is get a hairstyle that does not block the face. Right, I know this one is kind of like it's a short fringe and it's kind of out of the way, but I normally give my Sims a bun before, or something tied up, so that I can like see all aspects of the face and I can manipulate all aspects of the face. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do next. Okay, as you can see, I have given her a tied up hairstyle. I've also removed those god awful EA lashes because they look terrible, and I've given her some okay looking eyebrows, I guess. Okay, today I'm going to be making I'd say a cute kind of regular Sim, and I like to use this face as base because I feel like it's very basic and it's not being like manipulated so much that I have to do lots of work to get it to look how I want it to. This face is okay as well. I mean, the basic thing here is just the head shape, but with this one it's like they've messed with the shape and the width of the jaw a bit too much, so I'm going to be using this one as base. I always use this as base. I like to mess with the head shape. If I was going for a more sophisticated, more edgy, kind of sexy Sim, I'd increase the head shape to make the face look longer, and in this way I can make the nose longer, which adds to that whole element of kind of sexiness and yeah. But today I'm going to be making kind of basic, kind of cute Sim, so I'm going to be reducing the head shape so that her face is quite small and quite cute, and all her features kind of look squished together. Which adds that element of cuteness. Another thing I like to do is, since I'm making a cute Sim, I like to increase the jaw width, so that her face has this more rounder feel to it. If I was going for a more sophisticated, more sexy looking Sim, I'd make the face more oval, like the jaw almost non-existent, but that's not what I'm doing today, so I'm going to make the face look a bit more rounded. And that's what I normally do with the face. Next bit's the eyes. I like to use the first eye as a base because I feel like it looks like the most like an eye out of all of them, in respect to, let's say, this one, which does not look like an eye, or this one. No one has these eye shapes in real life, so I like to use the first one because it looks most like a human eye, I guess. I'd like my Sims to have quite not like very small eyes, but towards the low end of the scale kind of eyes. I always feel like when my Sims have big eyes, they look like aliens, whereas in other people's Sims, they look really cute and stuff, but I don't know how to balance that, so I normally go for kind of smaller eyes. I also like to reduce the eyelid height, so that when I fiddle around with the upper and lower lid, it all comes together, as so. And you don't want to fiddle around with the upper lid height too much because then she starts to look sleepy. If you're going to do that, you also have to mess with the eyelid height so that it encaptures both of them at a certain point to make it look like she's not sleepy or her eyes have some kind of weird defect. Let's move on to the other bits. Here I don't have a definitive thing I do, I just kind of mess around with the settings until I get something that I like. So even though I've done this a million times, I play with all of them until I find something that I like. And there we go. There are two main sliders that in the global settings bit that I like to mess with, which are the eye stretch slider to make the Sim's eyes a bit more wider or a bit less wider, I guess. Somewhere in the middle is fine, and the eye length slider, which is here. If you want to give your Sim a bit more like, I would say that's a boxy shape. Yeah, that's a boxy shape. If you want to give your Sim a kind of boxy shaped eyes, then you'd increase it, and if you want their eyes to be more like almond shaped and a bit rounder, then you'd lower it, as you notice. Yeah. Somewhere in the middle is fine, yeah, I'd say. And that's all I basically do for the eyes. I also like to distance them so that when I'm fiddling with the nose, it doesn't get in the way. Okay, let's move on to the nose then. I like to use the first nose as base as well, because it's not as defined and it's kind of pudgy, and I feel like I can just mess around with it without doing too much work. Unlike this one, or this one, or this one, which I'm sure if I like tried to figure out how to get a nose I like from this, it wouldn't be so hard, but I'm so used to using the first one's base, and for the purpose of this video, that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, first thing I do is fiddle around with the nose bridge settings, like the bridge nose width slider by YUU, yeah, I guess you, is my best friend, basically. It can take a Sim's nose from looking very defined and very small to very pudgy, and it basically does what the bridge width slider does, but my problem with the bridge width slider is that it just messes with the width, the bridge of the nose and not the actual nose, so I like to increase it until I get to, like, because I'm going for a cutesy Sim, obviously, I will decrease the slider to make the nose look a lot less defined than in contrast to if I was making a more like sophisticated looking Sim, then I'd make the nose a little bit thinner, but I'm going to stick to the lower end of the spectrum in this aspect. And that's all I do for here. I don't want to do it too much though, so that the bridge doesn't look like too angled out, so I'm going to leave it there. And then I go to the nostrils, and I want to make the nostrils not too defined, because if you have kind of like a less defined nose bridge and a very defined nostril, it looks kind of odd. So to add to the whole feel of the nose, I'd make it less defined too, and then I'd increase the scale just a little bit and bring the nostril down. I also tend to not rotate the nostril, which is something I've recently started doing, but I feel like it gives more of a kind of distinct look, so that's what I've done here. And then I'm going to decrease the septum height so that so that everything kind of squidges and fits into one. You can also, like, if you want there to be more nostrils than the septum, you can decrease the septum width. I think the septum slide is by AWT. Yeah, I think it's by AWT. Can't remember. But if you want to know where it's by, you can ask me later on in my ask box or something. Excuse me. And there we go. The nose is done. I'd normally leave it like that, although I fiddle around with it even a bit more if I didn't like the way the nose was, but I like the way it is at the moment, so let's move on to the mouth. I also like to use the first mouth as a base because it's easier to manipulate than say this one or this one, and I'm so used to using this one, so I always use this one. First thing I do is increase the thickness of the lips. Now I have quite thick lips, so I think I envision that and use it on my Sims. I don't know why, it's always something I do. Like, I don't like them to have like really thin lips. Kind of go overboard a little bit flat. I don't want it to be too much though. Right, if I was going to give her quite wide lips, I'd increase the width, and if I was going to give her quite small lips, I'd reduce it. But somewhere in the middle should be fine because her lips are not too wide, and her lips are not too small either. And I just fiddle around the shape until I get something I like. And with the upper lip, I have a lot of sliders for that. And I don't really have a definitive way of how I get what I want. I just kind of fiddle around with the sliders until I find something that I'm happy with. So it's all about finding the balance, basically, with this one. Like, I can't really give you any tips on how I get my Sims lips to look the way they do. I just kind of fiddle and fiddle and fiddle with the sliders until I get to the point where I'm happy with the lips, which can also be put into all aspects of creating Sims, because if you're not happy with the way your Sims are, for instance, and you want to improve, all I can tell you to do is to practice. Like, I've been playing Sims 3 for 3 years. Yeah, since it came out, basically. And if you go back to the beginning of my blog, you will see how atrocious my Sims look. But I've been practicing non-stop until I've got to the point where I'm like, yes, I'm finally happy with my Sims. And yeah, that's all I can tell you to do, basically. Just practice, practice, practice. And you will eventually get to the point where you are like, yes, I'm finally happy with the way my Sims look. And yeah, that should do the lips. I just basically mess around with the lips until I get to the point where I'm happy with it. I also I don't like very defined features when I'm making my Sims, so I kind of decrease the definition of basically everything, like you saw with the nose and now with the lips. So yeah, I just basically mess around with all the sizes until I get to the point where I'm kind of happy with the way my Sims look. And now to add other details to the Sim to make them look, to give them a particular look, I guess. I like to add freckles to my Sims. I love these freckles by, I think it's viola. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, I love giving my Sims freckles. I think it's because I don't have freckles and I really like freckles. So yeah, I like to give them freckles. But you don't want to overdo it so that the focal point is not taking. You don't want to overdo the freckles so that you can actually see the face, and the focal point is not on the freckles but the face. It's just adding little details to make the Sim look more unique, I guess. In terms of makeup, I don't really layer on anything till I get to the blush bit, I think. With the eyeliner, I don't have much eyeliner. Actually, yeah, I do. I recently added more eyeliner into my game, but I don't use that much eyeliner. I normally depend on the S Club lashes, because they make the Sims lashes. They basically just give the eye more characteristics, I guess. You can layer them on, but I would advise that you don't layer on too much, because if you do that, it looks okay in Create a Sim, but when you get out of Create a Sim, it doesn't render properly if you layer them on too much, and it just looks like your Sim has a weird look around their eyes. So I wouldn't advise you do that. And I would just get a really simple eyeliner and put it on the Sim. And then next, go to blush. And in blush, that's where I get most of the stuff that I'm going to put on my Sim's face. I like to use this nose mask. I can't remember who it's by, but I can, if you really want me to, I can check for you. And you can ask me that later, basically. I use that nose mask, and then these nose freckles. I can't remember who these are by, but I've had them in my game for a very long time. Then I use cheek pores to add more definition to a face. Well, I don't have my HQ mod in at the moment, so chances are you won't be able to see them properly. But if I did, then you'd be actually know the quality of this isn't that good anyway, so you probably won't be able to. But if I had my HQ mod in, I would be able to see the pores in her cheeks, which I feel add more characteristic to the face. I also use this blusher by Tifa. And this face shadow. Can't remember who it's by. No, I remember who it's by, I just can't see the name. And I reduce it. I basically reduced the opacity of everything so that like it doesn't look too caked on and she doesn't look like us. Shit tons of makeup on basically. And then finally we go to the lipstick. Right, I have two favourites. I have this Super Sheer by Tamo, which I really like to use when I don't want to make it look like my Sim's wearing too much lipstick. Or I have this Dry Lips by IN3S. She's deleted her blog, but I don't know if you can. I'm sure it's still lingering around somewhere on the internet. If you want to, if you want to get it, I guess. I don't like my Sims to look like they're wearing too much lipstick because it comes to look a bit caked on, like that. It just doesn't look that nice, so I reduced the opacity, and yeah, basically her face is done. It doesn't take me a very long time because I know what I like. I have this definitive idea of what I want my sim to look like at the beginning when I start making them. So when I go to create a sim, I just know which sliders to mess around with to get the look that I want my sim to have. So yeah, as you can see, all the features are quite squished together, are quite small. I feel like that adds this element of cuteness. And yeah, next thing I'm going to do is find a hairstyle that's suitable for her face. As I said earlier, but the hairstyle, I have a lot of hairstyles. I really need to remove a lot of them. And thing is, I only use about 10 of them, and that's really bad because that's why I have a hoarding problem with, like, when it comes to custom content, because I'm like, I don't really use this, but then I don't want to remove them. Like, I might use it someday, but I don't ever use it. It's so stupid. But I think with her facial feature, her facial features even, any hairstyle would work for her. So if you wanted, I feel like if you wanted to put more emphasis on her face though, you would get something that's not too big or too vibrant, something that you can just maybe that doesn't cover her face, or yeah, something like maybe a ponytail or something like that. So let's look for that. Or something like this actually. This is quite nice. Yeah, it's quite short, so it kind of adds to that. I don't know, it brings emphasis to her face in some way, even though it's kind of covering one of her eye, but it kind of makes her look even cuter, I guess. But let's see how this one works. This one also works because, like, it's there, but then the focus isn't shifted from her face. Like, you can still see her face, but then her hair is also quite good to look at, I'd say. So I'm going to keep it with that one. And yeah. So yeah, now we're out of Create a Sim. This is normally the first thing I do actually. I wouldn't say it's a studio, I just basically create a square box and put the backdrop behind it, design it, put post player in, and then go into Create a Sim. So that when I'm done creating the sim, I can just come back and everything is ready for me to take pictures of the sim. Right, so I hope this video has been somewhat informative. I wouldn't say I have a very definitive way of making my sims, as I said before. But all I can tell you basically is just to practice and practice and practice, and download sliders, mess with them if you don't like them, remove them if you like them, keep them, and keep basically fiddling around until you find something you like, and just basically practice until you get to the point where you feel like you're happy with the way your sims look. This is in case you're not happy with the way your sims look, I guess. But yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed watching me create a sim. Well, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop me a message in my ask box or a comment on this video, and I would be more than happy to help you with whatever queries you have. So yeah, that's all I can say. I hope you enjoyed the video. So yeah, goodbye.